Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Welcome back to another episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungee here on the Voice of Wrestling Podcasting Network. We now have officially as many episodes as the NWA has been years in existence at good old 75. I'm your host, Tyler Fornes. With me, as always, is Fred. I don't want a lot for Christmas. I just want a new champion. Moreland, how are you?
I'm doing well. We'll get to that in a bit. I can only assume we're equally as important as the NWA in the history of wrestling. So congratulations to us. Who'd Luthez ever beat?
Oh, I can tell you one guy he did not beat. He did not beat Kenny Omega. But one thing that has Kenny Omega down, unfortunately, is the same thing that had Brock Lesnar down during his UFC run, diverticulitis. He was hospitalized last week after that really weird promo on Dynamite where he just kind of felt
it explains a lot.
It really does. Diverticulitis is a really, really brutal gastrointestinal disease. It can be fixed. I don't know if it can be cured. You can, at the very least, manage it. So all the best to Kenny, and hopefully that things aren't too bad for him. Because I have a friend who's dealt with it, and you and I have a mutual friend that has also dealt with it, and it's an absolutely brutal thing. And all the best to him. And on the same note, CJ Perry had to miss both a Collision and a CMLL date because she had an infection in her finger. And I'll spare a lot of the graphic details, but her finger looked like it was about to blow up like Wile E. Coyote. It was very, very bad. And all accounts seem to be that her finger's going to be fine. She had an infection that was running up her arm, and then that can get really, really dangerous.
Yes.
And it can get dangerous really, really fast. So it seems like everything is good, which is phenomenal. And apparently she was already released from the hospital, which is even better. All the best to both of them in their recovery.
Yeah, a couple quick notes just on this one. CJ, I'll go with Kenny first. Kenny will probably have to manage his diet the rest of his life, or at least for quite a while. I am, from what I understand. So, but he should be recovering soon. I don't know exactly how long it'll keep him out, probably over a month at a minimum. So hoping that, obviously the best for both of them. CJ, posted, about her being discharged from the hospital this morning. Or actually it was, I guess technically it was this morning because 4 a.m. is this morning. She, her finger got jacked up. She also posted a video of herself vomiting. I don't know why you would do that, but she sure did. So if you want to see CJ with a floor full of vomit on Instagram, go for that. But,
I don't know 100% for sure why she would have posted that. My theory is people didn't believe her that the trolls were coming after her saying she was
probably.
Sick. So she just hey, how about this vomit, buddy?
Probably. That makes sense.
Because I'll be honest, I would have.
The internet is awful.
I would have absolutely done that. I've people kind of got on me after, I said that I almost died from my appendix, and I'm like, I have a picture of the actual wound right after they stapled it. And I'm like, oh, I should just post this for the whole world. And I haven't done that.
Oh, that's a plus. Now, I do want to mention something because I talked about this with my wife, Dr. Wife, and the wife that is a doctor. And, I don't like this shit because there's a reason I did not become a physician, because I don't want to touch or look at this stuff. But so if you saw the pictures of her finger post-surgery where it just looked like somebody took, a tiny chainsaw to it, the reason for like the crisscross incision is per my understanding, is basically that is done to try to retain mobility of the finger, because if you just do like a straight vertical thing, it can lead to scarring along the knuckles, and that can limit just how much you can move your finger after the fact. So they do that kind of zigzag incision style to limit that some. And also some of the photos actually show a wick in the wound, which will help remove pus from the wound.
So explain this wick. Is it almost like a drainage tube?
Essentially, yeah. I don't know the exact substance of it. Again, refer to previous statements about human body being gross. I don't want to look.
When you said wick, I'm like, oh hell yeah, let's light CJ's finger up and let's blow it out with a birthday wish. Let's go.
Well, it kind of looks like that already happened. But yeah, they're called wicks. And they're just I guess they're just kind of little absorbent strips you can use in wounds to wick away fluid, including pus. But yeah, it's great she's being discharged. It's great she got treatment. If you don't let an infection travel up your arm, because if that starts to happen, that's very bad. Please seek medical attention.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the previous information was not medical advice. If you're having a medical emergency, contact 911 or your local equivalent. I hate that I have to include that, but I am technically a pharmacist. But yeah, I'm glad they're both doing better. There are lots of gross photos on CJ's Instagram. I don't like this stuff, man. But there you go. I don't know what else to say.
Well, let's graciously move on. Let's talk about money.
Yeah.
Mercedes Moné has reportedly wanted more money than Charlotte just signed for with WWE. Fightful had reported that Charlotte signed a contract making her one of the highest paid women in company history. And I believe she would be the highest paid on-air talent in company history, with the only people being paid more are on the board. And momentum does feel like Moné will be returning to WWE rather than going to AEW at this point. But things can obviously change. Of course, she should want more money, because on the flagship, Rich and Joe talked about it, and Joe described it as it's like quarterbacks in the NFL. One guy signs for X amount, the other guy's going to get a little bit more, and that's a constant. Kirk Cousins at one point was the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. He got beat 2 weeks later by Matt Ryan. The highest paid quarterback in NFL history right now is Joe Burrow, and then it was Patrick Mahomes. He got a modified contract. Pretty much a week or two after Burrow signed his. This happens. So obviously she was such a ratings mover for WWE and was such a positive impact on their financials. It would be smart to bring her back, and it would also be smart to bring her back so AEW, if they actually do sign her, can't have her and be able to spark their women's division. Let's be honest, the women's division needs that kind of spark right now. I think this is pretty much a non-story.
Yeah, I mean, she wants a lot of money. Not a surprise. I do. The more meaningful thing is, just my personal opinion here, but it feels like the momentum is definitely pointing towards her going back to WWE rather than signing with AEW. I think that that just kind of, if they haven't got her pen to paper yet, it feels like it's leading that way. I guess we'll see. It could be wrong. It could be something that they've signed months ago. But I don't know. I just get the feeling that it's not trending that way. That's just my take.
Yeah. Pretty much. This is a potentially big deal. Warner Brothers Discovery discussing a potential merger with Paramount Global. Now, Paramount owns CBS, and obviously they have Paramount Plus, which is one of, in my opinion, the better streaming services on the market. You can watch your CBS affiliate on there, which, let me tell you, somebody who only does streaming and cut the cord, kicks ass. I love it. That could also mean, theoretically, we could see AEW pay-per-views on Paramount. We could see AEW shows and the back catalog on Paramount Plus. Now, this is all extremely hypothetical because these merger talks have just begun. But it's important to understand what the ramifications could be for All Elite Wrestling, because being able to get the back catalog on a streaming service, tremendous. So I'm very intrigued to kind of see how this all works out, manifests. In the meantime, what do you think?
Something to keep an eye on. I'll be pretty curious about just how much more debt this causes, if any, for the future company if they go through with it. It's I think when Warner Brothers Discovery was formed, it took a lot of debt to get there, and that's kind of a common thing with modern mergers, and then these companies try to dig out from their debt, and it doesn't always work well. So yeah, just, I think I saw that Meltzer said, and this is secondhand, so I could be wrong here because I haven't had a chance to listen to him this week, that this is not expected to affect either AEW or WWE. We'll see. If that's the case, then I assume that any hypothetical merger would result with Warner Brother Discovery current board, current execs holding the power once it's done. But yeah, it feels like these two groups would do well merging together, just because there is, it could, it would probably give them a leg up in the field.
No, 100%. I'm very intrigued to kind of see what happens here. But the big thing is, it's going to be a wait and see game because it's so new, it's so early, and things could just collapse tomorrow. Just remember the story behind Bischoff trying to buy WCW. That just all of a sudden you get a phone call and say it's done, it's over. Like, stuff like that happens in the business world a lot. So while it may make sense and while X, Y, and Z could happen, it could also fall apart. So we'll monitor and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Other news, more injury news. Fred Bandito unfortunately had to have a second surgery on his wrist. He said it was successful. I believe, Fred, you told me that it was an infection that developed from the first surgery.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I apologize if that is not. That's what's in my brain, and it's imperfect. So, but yeah, apparently he needed a follow-up corrective surgery after his first one for breaking his wrist against Takeshita way back in, I think it was June, and he said there were 3 options, but basically 2 of them were surgeries, and the third one would have basically kind of messed up his arm for life if he, tried to rehab it and work through it. So I'm glad he didn't go the Tanahashi route. And hopefully he'll be able to recover healthily from this one and get back in the ring sooner rather than later.
Yeah, all the best to Bandito, because Bandito absolutely rules, and we need more of him in AEW. Let's talk about ratings, Fred. Collision.
I want to point, real quick before you say the numbers, I want to point out this is why I say never read too much into one number.
Yes, you have to look at it from a trend perspective. Now, ratings. Collision had its best overall audience since October 28th and had its best demo since October 21st. And it went head-to-head with an NFL game, Broncos versus Lions, but it was on NFL Network, which is in significantly less homes than any 3-letter network on network television and ESPN. but it still did a 457,000 at 0.15. Look, it also went up. They also went up against NXT Deadline the prior week, and they did good. I think we're at a point where Collision, unless you're looking at a true WWE pay-per-view, is going to be fine. And I also think that the shift back to restore the feeling is making a major impact on it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a factor. But all in all, that's good. That's strong. That's good. Performance in the ratings, and then we'll turn around to Dynamite.
Dynamite rating. It was interesting. Last week they did, I think it was 860 and a 0.3. This week 782 and a 0.26. Lowest overall since October 25th, and the third lowest demo of the year. I have not seen the broadcast numbers, and if you could pull them up, that'd be wonderful, Fred, because I was not watching Dynamite live, because I was watching the Survivor finale, which is still one of the biggest draws on television on an overall level, Survivor. If I wouldn't be shocked if the Survivor finale did like 8 to 10 million. It also would shock me if they did 5.
The Wrap says they were at 4.5 million.
That's still a hefty number.
Yeah.
4.5 million viewers, and especially because we're talking Christmas time and all of these other factors of people doing stuff. I really don't see this as a bad number, especially because after the strong number they put out last week, I was one of those people who was watching Survivor, and I wouldn't be shocked if there were a lot of others like me too. I did watch Dynamite though. I was a good boy this week.
Hey, good.
I know, but yeah, it's
proud of you.
I'm proud of me too, Fred. I really am. I don't see this as an issue. I really don't.
Yeah. I think I'm not really too moved by either number. Honestly, when I think of AEW ratings, it's basically like there's an old GIF of Impact TNA's ratings back about 14 years ago, how they would never move from 0.9 to 1.0. And it was just this GIF of all these ridiculous events and, rating 0.9. That's kind of where AEW is right now. They've stagnated over the past, however many months, and they're down from last year, and but not like continuing to free fall. They're just where they are, and I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. But I don't think there's really too much worth celebrating in general. So,
yeah, I'm not celebrating this number, but I think it's objectively fine. You know what else is objectively fine, Fred? There's a Ring of Honor Women's Television title.
Is that objectively fine?
I'm not going to bury it until I see what they do with it, but it just feels like it feels like a poor decision.
Yeah, I'm not real excited about it because the current women's division is not doing great outside of Athena in Ring of Honor. And honestly, the finish of the main event from the last final battle doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know why you would build Starks up like that and then have her lose. I thought it was pretty clear that it was time to move Athena onto something bigger and better, but no, she's just still Ring of Honor Women's Champion with no one really built to beat her for it. So they could change that, obviously. And honestly, of the 3 women's belts that are currently crowned, hers has had the best picture, I think, over the past half year, but still, I'm not super hyped, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing. All right. Will Ospreay's last Rev Pro match will be on February 18th in 2024. Obviously, he is signed to an All Elite Wrestling contract, but it is not exclusive. Obviously, AEW is going to have priority with Will Ospreay's bookings, but he said he was going to really calm down after the 2023 calendar year, and nobody can blame him. What's really interesting here is Will Ospreay said he was going to leave Rev Pro with the belt. And if he leaves Rev Pro with the belt, that could really bring some fascinating elements to All Elite Wrestling and get some more crossover, maybe get some AEW younger talents on Rev Pro shows. I think this could be really interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of a break point for Rev Pro just to see what happens. Could lead to some good stuff, and hopefully they're able to capitalize on that. But something to watch if you're definitely into the British scene or anything with that.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued. Well, we'll find out because Rev Pro's production's weird, but it's really good wrestling. Speaking of really good wrestling, Rey Fenix. He's been pulled from a January 5th match at Prestige Wrestling versus Samurai Del Sol, and he's been replaced with Leo Rush. Still a good match with him and Samurai, but it would have been cool to see Phoenix in that spot. Appears he's still healing up from, I believe it was a back injury, among other things.
He just got banged the hell up when he accidentally won and then lost the international championship. So unfortunate, but hopefully he'll recover soon.
Yeah. We'll find out kind of what his timetable is. This is
you good after that?
No, I am not good, Fred.
Okay.
Speaking of, Zach Zodiac worked a dark match recently, and if you've never heard the name, it's the brother of Saraya. Nepotism strikes again, Fred.
It's Darkhead rises up. Apparently, it had been promised dark match if he got his workers visa. He got his workers visas for a month, I guess, to do some indie dates, and got his dark match. So good for him. I've actually never seen him work before. So I have no real opinions on him, his ability. But yeah, part of the extended Knight family.
Yeah.
Or the
yeah, we'll find out. I mean,
Bevis family, I guess I should say, but yeah.
People work dark matches all the time. It could mean something. It could mean absolutely nothing. This is interesting. Julia Report has not received an offer from AEW and is only considering WWE or Stardom. I believe that was from the Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Correct, yes.
Is there any more context here? Because I've already seen some people on social media call this sexism, and because they offered like big contracts to Bushi and Takeshita, but not Julia. I feel like every situation is different. Like they did spend the entire early portions of the company trying to push Joshi.
Yeah, this is one of those classic Observer notes that is like 2 sentences. But here's the entire quote from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Nothing new on Julia past that AEW has never made a serious play for her, and she's had no conversations with AEW and is not considering them. It's WWE or staying in Japan.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the info we have. If Tony Khan has not made her an offer, that's kind of that's shitty, man. I don't know what you're doing, man. Like, not as like a bad person thing, just like, what are we doing as a business,
I wonder if she has no interest in that, got back to Tony, so he's just being respectful and not making a play.
Perhaps, but I still think you got to reach out and do at least some kind of a pitch.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I don't disagree. I'm just trying to understand thought process here is all.
Yeah. But considering that there was talk earlier this year that they were going to back up a truck of money to Mercedes Moné, I don't really think it's sexist, but I do think it's short-sighted or goofy. Is what I guess I would say. I think that we've talked about it all year. The women's division for AEW has lots of flaws, and I think it's this would obviously have helped, but there's only so much that talent can do when your creative is either big spooky off or timeless Tony. It's that's where we are. Julia is fantastic. She'll be fantastic wherever she goes. I just worry that she'd get the Yuka Sakazaki and Riho treatment and just like disappear for half a year at a time, while Sky Blue wrestles every single show available.
Good old Sky Blue, who's now black. Are we going to start calling her Sky Black because she seems to be House of Black adjacent?
I don't know.
That is what really intrigues me here.
I think what we really need to be calling her is Sky Boo, because she's so scary.
Oh, Fred, that got me. That was good. That was very good. All right. VOW Secret Santa.
We just finished it up, baby. And by we, I mean like lots of people. And I wrote a thing, and you wrote a thing. I tortured a British person.
What was your match?
I sent it. Okay, so what I do is I go through my big ass spreadsheet of anything that people have reviewed positively on Cage Match, even if it's just one rating that's a 7. I'm like, all right, I'll toss it in this big ass spreadsheet. So I have this massive spreadsheet of shit. And I was looking through for some indie matches from 2000, but I somehow ended up on Kikutaro versus Kushinibo Kamen from 2013. And I was like, God, I have not thought about Kikutaro in a long time. Why not? Why not use this match? And I'll toss that in there. Sure.
Oh, boy.
It's like 12 minutes or something. It's not long. It's a goofy little match, just a little something. I gave it to Neil David of Eurographs Express. I may be, if I'm ever assassinated, please put him towards the top of the list of suspects. Did appreciate it.
Neil covers British wrestling. He should know bad wrestling by now.
He wrote a very funny thing about the kind of person that would like this match, and worth a read. I'm just gonna say that, I just like different stuff in wrestling. I'm not gonna gush about this, but it was a fun little comedy match, I thought.
So, fun fact: a couple years ago, I gave it might have been last year. I've had Neil twice.
Yeah.
One of the matches I gave him was AJ Styles Jeff Jarrett from 2005 at Hard Justice, which is one of my favorite TNA matches ever, because AJ overcomes all the BS Jarrett shenanigans, wins the title with the spiral tap, hasn't done the move in 2 years. Really good. His first sentence starts off like, yeah, this match really isn't for me. And then he goes on and talks about how it was objectively good. And I'm like, that Neil, he is a stupid good writer, and sometimes life just isn't fair.
Yeah. My first one that I ever gave was I actually was pretty excited about giving it, and then I gave it to Paul Bosch and he buried it. But it was a forgotten WWF match, which is hard to find, but it was the Steiner Brothers versus Money Inc. from 1993 on the SummerSlam Spectacular, the show the night before SummerSlam that year, in a cage match. And WWF cage match rules are just the dumbest. But I still thought it was a pretty good match. I'm not gonna it wasn't Notebook level, but it was all right, sure, yeah. Here's a little
nice 3-star special.
Yeah, 3.5 stars, maybe 3 3/4 if you're feeling generous. Just a little, little taste. And he just buried it deep. So now I am now 2 for 3 in sending people matches they didn't like. Accidentally. This isn't even a bit I'm doing. I'm not picking out shit, finding the worst matches I can. I'm just hey, this is a neat little thing here. I hate it. So what can you do? How was and I got Aja Kong and Bison Kimura from 1995 in AJW. I need to watch more classic Joshi, but this was a lot of fun. I liked it. Aja Kong rules.
My match was a 5-way Singapore Cane on a pole match from WWE One Night Stand 2008 Extreme Rules. I'll be honest, the match kind of stunk.
Yeah.
But it was psychologically built well.
Mm-hmm.
And it had all-pro pass rusher Sean Merriman in the crowd. And he hit Chavo Guerrero so hard with a kendo stick, I thought Guerrero died.
Remember when he kept teasing he was going to go into WWE and then never did?
Yeah, probably.
Merriman. I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like he would have made some money off that, but it's also, not easy. So
no.
What did you gift this year?
I gifted a match I was at, and I'm very disappointed that I gifted it to Sean Cedar, a resident Ring of Honor expert for Voice of Wrestling, and it was a match I was at last year. It was Konosuke Takeshita wrestling at a brewery in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, called Fat Pants. He was wrestling a guy named JDX, who was like kind of canceled, but
was he?
canceled.
Oh no.
Yeah, so he has like a podcast, I guess, where he gives like advice to like men, and he was giving advice on how to like go after women, and it was a little too aggressive, and then he just kept doubling and tripling down.
Oh no.
He was basically saying like I think the tone was like, just be relentless, don't stop.
Oh my god.
Like just the pursuit, not like
sure, yeah,
not like sexually assaulting him or anything,
but don't respect him.
Yeah. Yeah, so this promotion ended up cutting ties with him, and he took like an 8-month hiatus. I don't know if he was hurt or what, but then he just started wrestling again. As a wrestler, he's pretty good. I gave it 4 1/4. It was a nice little live bump, but Sean didn't notice me in the crowd. I was a little disappointed. Yeah, it was a good show. Just a nice little 4 1/4 star indie match with great wrestling. I mean, it's only a 12-foot ring, which kind of stinks, but they made it work really nicely.
Well, the plus side is they actually booked Takeshita to wrestle. So
yeah, and then 3 days later, it was Quake at the Lake, and Takeshita, I think, was only on a dark match.
Sounds about right.
This was during that weird time with Takeshita. I mean, don't get me wrong, but that was also when dark was still a thing. So, like, he was getting like actual like quote unquote TV time. But yeah, Quake of the Lake is phenomenal dynamite, and then literally the worst Rampage of all time followed it. That was when Sammy Guevara called Eddie Kingston a fat piece of shit, and I think I think that was what caused the beef between them.
Yeah.
And then I think they edited it out for TV, but yeah. It was like, whoa! All right, we're cooking with gas. But yeah,
buddy.
Yeah. MAW does a lot of shows around here. They do like every year they do their big show called Grand Slam. They put like almost 1,000 people into a high school gym. It's a pretty cool little spot.
Now, did you say that was one of the worst Dynamites ever?
No, one of the worst Rampages ever.
Oh, Rampage,
probably the worst.
Yeah. I'm pulling it up now.
It was August. I want to say it wasn't the 8th because that's my anniversary.
It was after the 10th. Hold on, everybody. I know this is lovely audio. All right, I got it pulled up here. This is a poorly rated one in this card. Woo, baby! Yeah, that'll do it. We had a triple World Mixed Tag Team title match with Dante Martin and Sky Blue, the fearsome duo we all know and love, challenging Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello unsuccessfully. Yeah. Parker Boudreaux killed Sonny Kiss in a minute. The Gun Club defeated Danhausen and Eric Redbeard. Now you're burying an Eric Redbeard show, and I can't accept that.
Look, Eric Redbeard is fun, and he's a Minnesotan. That's why he gets booked a lot of times when AEW comes to Minnesota. He wasn't on the last show, but they also had Julia Hart in the return of Top Flight's Dante Martin. So they didn't really need him per se. But yeah, Redbeard got a huge pop in the building. I remember that.
And then the main event was Orange Cassidy defeating Ari Daivari in a 12-minute match. Imagine putting Ari Daivari in a 12-minute match.
Fun fact, Ari Daivari and Ken Anderson have a wrestling school in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I thought they did. Look, I'm not burying him as a guy. I just, it's a weird main event. And,
well, you know how those Rampage main events are. Rampage main events are not really main events. And then the Mogul Embassy... Or no, it wasn't the Mogul Embassy. What were those doofuses called at the time?
The Firm?
No. Was it the Firm? No,
which doofuses?
Parker Boudreaux.
Oh, it was the
wasn't Mogul Affiliates yet, was it?
No, it was. I can't even remember the name of it now.
Yeah, whatever those doofuses were called came out and beat up Orange Cassidy.
The Trust Busters.
Oh, the Trust Busters. Well,
all of the stars.
They busted my trust for believing Rampage was a good show. So
got him.
Yeah.
We had can't forget a fellow Trustbuster member, Jeeves K, also known as VSK.
Oh yeah, that dude.
Yep.
He had more tattoos on his face than I have hair on my head.
No, that was a different guy. That was the former baseball player who wrestled one match. That was later on.
Okay.
Who joined the Mogul Embassy with Parker Boudreaux for 2 weeks. Okay, Final Battle. I still haven't watched the show. I've watched part of it. I got through the 6-man tag, which when I saw the very good Vikingo Taurus match. But I haven't watched anything else in the show.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't watched anything from Final Battle.
Damn,
everything I've heard is that this was a great show. My big thing with Final Battle, dude, this is my busy season. I have to write 2,000 words on bowl games here once we're done recording. Final Battle will come in time, but I've heard it's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the rest. I don't know what I'll get to do so, but hopefully sometime soon. But yeah, I'm working on it, taking my time, trying to get there. Yeah, so that's the news. Let's talk the AEW TVs. We're 9 days out now, I think. I think it's 9, maybe it's 8. Is it on Sunday?
No, it is 8 days out.
Yeah.
Shit, it's flying by.
Yeah. World's End, the next pay-per-view. It is coming up on the 30th. So we got ourselves a week of TVs to talk about. Drop some quick thoughts about Rampage from last week. The Von Erichs, I think I can safely say, are not going to be stars. Between what I saw on the pre-show for Ring of Honor and on their little multi-man tag. They're not bad by any real stretch, but they're also not really good. They're serviceable, and I just don't know that they really have the charisma to overcome that. Mm-hmm. But they had a decent match there with Orange Cassidy against 2.0 and Jake Hager, the remnants of the JAS.
Look, it was just fun to get the music and
mm-hmm.
to see.
I'm not burying the booking or anything. I'm just saying long term.
Kevin Von Erich with the claw.
Yeah,
that was cool.
For the Texas crowd, that's a good pop. Not very good Anna Jay Red Velvet match. Instantly forgettable Callis family squash. And then we had ourselves a fantastic main event with Top Flight and Action Andretti against the Lucha Trio of Vikingo, Penta, and Commander. This was a really fun match, and I went 4 1/4 on it. Some spots didn't go perfectly, but still, I thought it was really good in general, and definitely worth your time. Great high-flying stuff in here.
I love good high-flying stuff. That's about all I have to say about it.
Fair enough.
Overall, it was a really good. Overall, it was a really good collision.
I would say it was a really good match on a otherwise pretty mediocre collision, or Rampage, I should say. But yeah, the trios match definitely bailed it out.
I'm stupid. That
they're fine. It's all good. It's early or late, one or the other, depending on how you look at it. As I say this at 1:30 p.m. Collision itself. Any thoughts on that show?
Look, Collision continues to be a really good wrestling show. This is what we thought Collision was going to be, and it's turned into something better. Dudes are just going on there and fucking wrestling. It's
Yeah.
great. I just wish it wasn't on Saturday nights because it's so hard for me to watch live.
Yeah, it's I always have to watch on Monday or Tuesday, at least the way my schedule's been working recently. I thought this was really a great show, top to bottom, more or less. I dropped. It was a blizzard because so many snowflakes were falling down. I went 4.5 on Andrade and Claudio. There was a instantly forgettable Abaddon squash, but we got the return of Thunder Rosa, who I did not recognize at first until the announcers made it clear she was. I missed her sitting at the announce desk apparently, so that's on me. But yeah, she didn't have the makeup on, and she's got blonde hair, and like that. Oh, okay, that I guess that's Thunder Rosa. Very different look for her. I guess we'll see what she's doing in the future.
I thought it was Britt Baker at first.
I didn't think it was Baker. I wasn't sure who it was.
Well, when they shot her from behind, it gave me Britt Baker vibes. I'm like,
fair.
Britt Baker? No, it wasn't. Yeah, Thunder Rosa being back is good. Hopefully, the backstage issues, it's been long enough where we can kind of put a lot of that to bed. Obviously, sometimes you just can't put everything to bed. But
yeah,
hopefully that we can just move forward because her in the ring is a positive addition to this women's division that obviously just needs top-end players.
Yeah. Her return is a boon to the company. It's probably fair to chalk up at least some aspect of her poor performances at the end of her title run towards her back issues. It's kind of impossible to say exactly how much what was playing a role, but yeah, hopefully she's healthy and ready to go, and we can just get good stuff out of it. We also had, as I go to the wrong tab, Big Brain Fred, we had Brian Keith and Orange Cassidy, which was a very nice match. Not notebook, but I went 3 3/4. I thought it was a fun one. A little uneven, there were a couple spots where you could tell that they were kind of making sure they were on the same page, which isn't terrible. But we had a extremely awkward Roderick Strong segment with Commander. Commander obviously doesn't know what to say. The whole second language thing probably didn't help out there. And Roddy just does his shtick and to set up the match on Dynamite.
We are so close to Roddy being away from the shitty gimmick. We are so close.
Are we? I'm not really sure we are that far. The only thing that's changed is he's not in a wheelchair.
Well, look at how he's wrestling. He's wrestling like he wants to.
He is wrestling, but he's still doing all the other shit,
I can deal with going Adam if he just continues to be an ass kicker in the ring. That end of Heartache on Commander, I mean, we're jumping the ship a little bit here, was one of the coolest finishers I've ever seen.
It was very well done. I did, that was excellent. Let's see. We got a big House of Black pre-tape, whatever. Spooky bullshit. The women's deathmatch division has returned, Tyler. Easily the best part of the past year of AEW's women's division is when they go into street fight territory. And look, this was kind of a plunder match, but it was, I thought, a really good one. It wasn't just, I will hit you with something, we'll waste time for 20 seconds, and then hit you with something else. They busted their asses here. Diamante and Mercedes Martinez are legit workers. And I mean, obviously Chris and Willow are too, but you got to put over the lower card people here for their work. I do hope that they have solidified their spot in the pecking order, because they deserve some kind of spot, Diamante and Mercedes. But this was, I went 4.25 on it. I thought it just ruled.
Yeah, I'm saying, just make the women's division deathmatch division. It's so good when they do deathmatch. It just is. They do other good stuff too, but there's so much that's not good. It would be great if they made a deathmatch division.
Speaking of, they went immediately from that deathmatch to Toni Storm doing a promo. I think this is on the one hand, you've got these great violent matches where people are beating the shit out of each other, and then you got this, I guess, comedy, frankly, though, they always forget the jokes. No jokes. Yeah. Copeland Cage pre-tape with Adam cutting a promo was pretty good. Brian Cage, squash guy. Keith Lee calls out Swerve backstage. Okay, I'm not opposed to it, but on the one hand, like, Swerve should be getting elevated into the world title picture now. Like, it should be happening imminently. And no offense to Keith Lee, but it's pretty clear that's a step back. It's not close to the world title picture, unless it's just like Swerve beating him and then immediately moving on. It's just like a 1 month, spacing thing. But secondly, like, why the hell have we waited so long to come back to this feud?
It's a great question.
We it never had a blow off in the first place. You can't even say this is like two old bitter rivals that had their wars and then have bumped into each other again are going to go back at it. They never had the wars. They had the turn, and then like I think Keith Lee had some health issues, but still, like, they just completely let that die out. So I guess you can point to the health issues, but still, it just seems like the wrong time. I'm not opposed to it in general, but I just don't know if this is what Swerve should be doing at this point in time. But then we got the last two Continental Classic matches. So Eddie Kingston and Daniel Garcia, which was fun. It wasn't as great as I hoped it would be, but it was a good match. I went 4 flat on it. So
Four's about right.
Yeah, bottom of the rung notebook. I like the Daniel Garcia storyline of him losing and being frustrated by it. I hope he also loses his last match, because I think that will just boost the storyline further. And Eddie stays alive with this win. And then we got Bryan Danielson and Brody King in what very well could have been the match of the tournament to date. This was great. Bryan Danielson is kind of a forgotten in-ring wrestler of the year, and there's a couple guys pitching him as a Thez Flair, like, overall MVP guy. I just don't know that he's been important enough to qualify for that. I think I'm still leaning Mystico for CMLL performances, as well as drawing the one house for AEW, and also single-handedly turning around the Denver Broncos season. But this match ruled. This was fantastic. I went 4 3/4 on it. I loved it.
Yeah, I went 4.5. Just, it's everything you want, man. Everything you want in wrestling.
Yeah,
great stuff.
Yeah, he's and Brody King has looked so awesome in this tournament. I hope that he continues to be like a featured guy going forward. I think of all the people in the tournament, he is the one that has benefited the most. And also, he is the one that needs to not be forgotten immediately after it's over. They can't just have him go back to being the big guy in House of Black. He's got to keep being a dude, and he is 100% a dude. I love the 3.1 kick out in this match. That worked fantastic. This rolled. Brody King rules.
I love this company, man.
That was a great collision. I mean, it really was.
We're so back.
We're kind of back. Dynamite, I lost the feeling. We're going to keep talking about restore the feeling. The feeling got unrestored a little bit on Dynamite. But it was surrounded by a lot of great stuff. So, do you have any other collision thoughts before we move on?
No. Good show.
So we got Dynamite. It opened with Roosh versus Swerve Strickland.
I love Roosh.
Roosh is fantastic. I don't know if he doesn't have a storyline. Did you see where he tweeted and kind of tried to launch his own storyline, possibly?
Hey, good. Shoot.
Yeah,
that
angle. Is not a problem for me.
Look, at least he's not posting Him kicking the shit out of Bandito after Ring of Honor Final Battle.
Yeah.
And posting all of Final Battle to his own YouTube account.
I think he called out like every other faction of the company. Like House of he called out the BCC, Mogul Embassy, and Bullet Club Gold.
God bless.
So classic lucha. Working my own angle, going to spread it as far as I can, so I can get something out of this. And this is not a knock. I love it. I genuinely love it. But this match was really good. Swerve Strickland, I've been saying all year, he is like a future world champion, and I think he's just really solidified that ever since the Hangman Page match. But I like this match a lot. 4.25. Just some really brutal stuff in here, and Swerve, was great, and love this match.
Yeah, I think I went 4 flat. Just awesome stuff. Roosh the 1 count kick out on the stomp was tremendous. He got up just like a huge ball of fire.
Yeah.
And eventually Swerve did get him, but I thought it was just tremendous. Swerve is, in my opinion, the best wrestler right now in the company. Him and Bryan Danielson. It's push him to the moon, please. Give Samoa Joe his title and get him in your title lineage. Then have Swerve beat him at Revolution. That's all I have.
Joe doesn't need a long title run. He's just Samoa Joe. He will always be a threat, and he doesn't need to carry the belt for 6 months to prove that. We especially after this MJF reign of terror.
No, but I will say, seeing Samoa Joe carry it for a year, just beating the living piss out of people, be pretty fun.
It would be. Would not complain. That would be some feeling restoration right there. Jericho backstage. We had actually a live promo, I think, backstage where he talked about Omega being in the hospital for diverticulitis. Said the Golden Jets will resume. We're all pulling for you. He messed up Kenny Omega's catchphrase.
That was so good. He's like, "Good night, mwah, and goodbye." Bang.
Honestly, I hope that was intentional, because the vibes I got off this promo, while sincere, was also like, kind of an insincere heel setting up a future turn. And I actually think it'd be a great storyline if, once Omega's healthy, they go after the tag belts and lose. Omega takes the fall, and Jericho turns on him immediately after, because he doesn't want to work with a loser.
I don't want that. You know why I don't?
I do.
That? You know why I don't want that? Because the Bucks are just going to be like, "I told you so," and they're going to be snarmy about it, and it's just going to annoy me.
Well, that's kind of their role, I think, at this point in time, is to annoy you. So, mission accomplished, it sounds like. Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe had themselves a nice match. Went 4 flat on it. Mark Briscoe is so cool. He's just a great performer. Jay Lethal had probably his best performance since the last the big emotional Mark Briscoe return match. But I thought this really rocked. There was a point where Briscoe did the Tope Con Hero off the chair to the floor, and then immediately grabbed a fan's hat and wore it, which was popped me damn good. I love Mark Briscoe so much.
I know.
I hope he gets like something real to do coming out of this. But I also think they're setting up a storyline here where Jay Lethal is going to do a face turn, and depending on just how much they push him, this could be good.
One thing I want to point out, they mentioned on commentary, and I thought this is very interesting, that this is almost like Mark Briscoe's rookie year as a singles guy, because he's essentially been a tag team wrestler for the majority of his career, and using that as part of the story, and then him getting the win. I didn't realize that a modified Burning Hammer was a singles finisher.
Yep.
So seeing that, and then the J Driller, I thought was really odd, but now I get it. It makes sense. Look, I don't know what kind of ceiling Mark Briscoe has, but it's higher than what he's currently at. And I'm okay with how they've kind of worked him in, get him into the canon, get him involved in some storylines. And because you don't want to just push him all the way to the tippy top and do the Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero thing. It's got to feel real. Whatever your final destination for Mark Briscoe is, and he's been involved and he's been treated well, and I think that's just a net positive for the company as a whole, both from a perception standpoint, because we know CM Punk decided to come to AEW because of how they handled the death of Brody Lee, but it's also good for on television from a character standpoint because people are really invested now in Mark Briscoe.
Yeah,
not just like sympathy invested, really
legit invested. Yeah. He's definitely standing on his own, and I mean, he's a great performer. He should be, some level of guy in this company. If I honestly thought, I don't have anything to confirm this, but I thought that he was supposed to be Claudio for the World Championship back in July in Ring of Honor. I think that that was just me reading the booking tea leaves, but I thought that would have been like the perfect booking. And, he got injured. They had to cancel the match. So now he's, we've got Eddie Kingston as a world champion. They could obviously do like a face versus face thing there, but it would be different circumstances than, being the guy to beat the heel monster champ. But I do think that he could easily slot into that spot if they're ready to take the belt off of, well, obviously the belt is going to be part of the American Triple Crown now. What am I talking about? My smooth brain coming into action here finally. But he could be in that circumstance, I guess. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out. It's to be seen. But yeah, I think Briscoe's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about several things off the show for, going to combine them all together here because it's kind of the next two segments. We had a Wardlow pre-tape talking about how he's, he is the good person and he's going to kill MJF, right? And then we had the next segment in the mystery, the who is the devil bullshit. We had MJF and Samoa Joe argue, and then the putty soldiers from Power Rangers came out, and they got beat up by the guys, and then we got the devil on the screen to say, basically challenge them for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship next week. And then later in the show, so we've got all this going on. So MJF's got his Samoa Joe storyline, his Devil storyline. He's got the Wardlow storyline. And then he has a big confrontation with Swerve Strickland.
This whole thing was weird, but at least it was cohesive and made sense. I don't want any of this, but at least them accusing each other of being the devil and the rationale behind it, at least like, okay, I can see that. I don't give a shit, but I can see it. Like, I'm just going to be glad when the devil's finally revealed and we can move on to whatever next level bullshit this is.
Yeah. I gotta say, we did have a segment on here where MJF was inducted into the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame and talked about how important it is to combat anti-Semitism, and then like half an hour later was making fun of Swerve Strickland for wearing a grill. Extremely weird stuff there. I don't know, man. I don't like the storyline. I think that MJF is kind of coming off as there was jokes about Chris Jericho earlier this year being a heat vulture. I think that's what MJF kind of is to me coming across as. I think he's inserting himself into everything. It feels like if anyone's getting hot, he's like, oh, I got to be part of this too. He did it with the Acclaimed, well after their peak, but still. And like, I don't know. I am exhausted by this stuff. MJF is talented, but if he is responsible for booking all this, then he ain't exactly Ric Flair, booking stuff in early 90s WCW to make other guys look good. MJF is just, I think everything he has touched has made everyone worse around him this year, unfortunately. And it sucks because I think he's extremely talented, but this has been a rough year, in my opinion, for the MJF experience.
I want MJF to go back to doing territory bullshit. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just desperately needs a heel turn. It's rough, man. It's not good. Let's see. Rocky and Orange got set up for Rampage tonight. Riho versus Saraya. I did not think this was very good. I don't think Saraya is a good wrestler in the ring right now. But I thought that this was below average. It was kind of a disappointment with Riho involved, who I think is generally pretty good. And of course, we had Toni Storm on commentary. As Odie snoozles in the background.
Oh, you can hear that?
Oh yeah. How can I not?
It's not even that loud.
Oh, it's super loud over here.
Odie, you made the podcast. You a good boy? Yeah. You're a good boy.
What a guy. So after this match, we get Luther carrying Toni down to the ring. She gets in the ring, and then she looks at Riho with opera glasses. That's very funny, Tyler.
No, it's fucking stupid. Good
I've
Lord.
been assured it's extremely funny. God. Well, we're going to do an award show next week, and we're going to have a discussion about what the worst storyline is and was in 2023 for AEW. But I think it's a real interesting debate between this and the Brochacho line.
You know what? It's going to be the Brochachos. It's going to 100% be the Brochachos.
You sure?
You know what Toni Storm hasn't done? Eat spicy Chinese food.
She has eaten bananas with the peel on because she's so wacky.
It's like, that's fine.
Well, look, now I have to like her. Don't make me defend people putting mayo in their coffee, please. I don't deserve this. I like the bit with Tony Schiavone reading the statement from Christian Cage. That was a good bit. Let's see. Commander versus Roderick Strong. I thought it was pretty good, 3.5, but not great. And then we had Roddy screaming about Max being the devil, and yeah, sure was. We got all the jobbers for AEW, like their lowest card people, putting over the new Aquaman movie. And like, it's just very funny who they had do it. I think the most protected person in that group was maybe Christopher Daniels. I don't know, man. It was something. And then we had the main event of Jay White and Jon Moxley, and I thought this was a strong match, but not a really high level one. It was actually a little disappointing. It felt kind of not quite disjointed, but like slower than it needed to be, which is a common Jay White issue. But I did end up going 4 stars on this. It was still good. The closing stretch was very strong. Jay White got the upset with the Blade Runner, setting up a triple threat match, a 3-way match. And look, as WWE-ish as AEW has been this year, it's a triple threat match right now. Swerve Strickland versus Jay White versus Jon Moxley for the spot in the finals next week. So that should be a lot of fun.
You know what? Did anybody want this to turn into a 3-way? No. But I'll tell you this. I like that it did, because now all of a sudden you are establishing precedent that what tiebreakers are. Hey, it can be a 3-way match. Like, it's for those of us who are like nerds about this stuff. I like that. Like, if you still can't figure out what a point-based tournament is, you're hopeless. But for the rest of us, I think this is really cool. It's establishing what could happen. Now you never have to do it again because you can always tease it. And I think that's great. Also,
Yeah.
the match was very good with Mox and Jay White. I gave it 4.25. My favorite was Swerve comes out and Jay White keeps trying to go over to Mox, but the ref keeps pushing back and Mox gets closer to Swerve and then White sneaks in and chop blocks him.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
good character work for him. Yeah, that was the week that was in AEW TV. Any additional thoughts? Anything I missed?
No. I hope we get a very Merry Christmas by a Samoa Joe title win at World's End.
Yes, that I think we're all kind of rooting for that at this point in time. But I do remember the big SRS report that we're going to find out who the devil is at World's End. I was like, I fucking hope so. It's only like we've been building to this for the entire year, and it's the obvious line, setup. But all right.
What's your devil prediction?
Oh God, I guess Jack Perry. My real prediction is I don't care.
That's not a prediction.
That's
an
such an awful storyline. The storyline has sucked so much. Oh, this is like Sherlock Holmes, but if everyone was stupid.
Yeah,
just the dumbest mystery ever.
Listen, we're gonna end it on that because
Murder on the Board Express.
You can't get any better than that. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun things, and that's an easy way to help us out. There's a donation link in the show notes if you want to buy Fred or I a nice beverage for this holiday season. And listen, if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a Merry Monday afternoon, evening, and morning, all the times. And if
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Good evening, and good night. Bang. We'll see you for the heat check next week.
Winnipeg Jets.
Hola, hola. My name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. We are a Spanish-speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AEW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your Lucha Libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Nos vemos por ahí.